Thanks for joining us for another Monday Math Day with Ohio State's Math Literacy Initiative. I'm Terri Bucci. So thankful that you're joining us, and thankful for all the work that you're doing with your students at home, whether they're your children, your grandchildren, neighbors, or whoever. Thanks for taking the time out to really think about and learn more about the math that your children are learning. So we have one more session today. It's general teaching strategies. That'll be at 2 o'clock. These other topics will be up on on Facebook and our YouTube channel. So if you're interested in any of these other ideas or topics and you weren't able to join us, please check out our YouTube channel or Facebook. So today we're going to talk about, at 2 o'clock, we're going to talk about perimeter. Perimeter and area both come up in 4th grade. So to think about perimeter, we need to be able to measure. And so we have, I know everybody's stuck in their apartment, your house, your condo, wherever you are. You might not have the measuring tools that are typically used. So I'm going to show you some optional tools. I mean, of course, you can use your measuring tape if you happen to have measuring tape. You can use a ruler if you happen to have a ruler. If you don't happen to have either of those things and you want measurements in inches, my husband showed me this really cool trick, which is that, and maybe most people know this, I don't know, I didn't know it, but a dollar bill is 6 inches long. So if we look at the long edge of a dollar bill, if we don't have a ruler, we can use the long edge of a dollar bill to measure it, to get inches. So, and if you don't have any of that, if you have string or yarn, you can use that to measure. And then we can just look at comparative measures. So did one take more string than the other? So don't get stuck on the tool that you use for measuring. We can figure out how to, that's the cool part about math, like the create part. We can figure out other tools that might work. So let's get to it. So what does perimeter really mean? So perimeter is the linear, it's called linear. Let me write this word down. It's the linear measurement around some figure. So let's look at these words, because sometimes we get stuck on them, and if we can just think about the other words that we know that look like it, we can figure it out. So what does linear mean? What part of that word could give us some clues as to what a linear measurement means? Well, right here we have the word line. So if we can measure something in a line, then that's going to be your linear measurement. So what I'd like to do, we're going to show how to measure things in a line using common, items that you have around the room. Or around wherever you're living. So because that's what's in the 4th grade standards too, is real life things. You want to measure real life things. So what you want to do is have some variances. That means, so just different things that you can measure. So I'm going to put up some tools on my screen up here. And first I'm going to use some cards. So if you have cards at home, cards are a good thing to be able to use. Now here's what we're going to do. I'm going to use 6 cards, and you can do this with your kids, especially if you have multiple kids. Then I'm going to use 6 cards, and what I'm going to do is try to place these cards in a way where we have either the greatest perimeter or the smallest perimeter. So that's the challenge. When you challenge your students, they're more likely to get engaged because you're saying, can you do this? Can you do this? And so we want to see if they actually can. So I'm going to put, I'm actually going to put it up here. So if I put 6 cards, and again, if you play with your child, or if you have multiple children, they can all play. I'm going to put my 6 cards down like this. Now, if we're talking about perimeter, it measures, remember, linear. Linear means in a line, the linear distance around the outside. So I'm going to use string and see what this measures. So again, linear line. So I'm going to start it here. So we have to be real careful. I'm going to start here and go here. So we have there. I'm going to hold on to this, hold on to it here, go here, hold on to this, go here, and hold on to this, and go down like this. I'm going to cut this. So this is the length of the cards when they're put like this. Now I want to ask you a challenge question. So if we rearrange them differently, do you think that the perimeter will change? So think about it for a second first. What do you think? Do you think the perimeter will change? Well, let's look. If we put them like this, do you think it'll change? Let's test. This is the string that went around it last time. So we can go. There's one. I'm going to hold this. There's two. I'm going to hold this. There's three. And I'm going to hold this. And look what happened. There's four. Smidge smaller. A smidge smaller. Why is that? Now, the questions that I'm asking you are questions that you want to ask your kid and your child, and you want to ask it with that same tone. Why is that? Now, you might know why it is, but the way you ask your child invites them into that conversation. Now, why do you think that is? That when we moved these two cards from here to here, that it changed that distance around the outside? I don't know, but this one definitely has longer. So now let's try another one. I'm going to try and put it like this. So there are no rules other than every card has to be touching another card. So what do you think about this one? Do you think this one will be a bigger perimeter or a smaller perimeter than the first one that we saw? Let's use our string. Remember, this was the string for the first one. So we have this. We have this. We have, oh goodness, it didn't even get to this row or this one. So we know that this one has a pretty long perimeter. Now, we're right now just kind of playing with shapes and the perimeter, measuring that distance around the outside. But there will be times where your student actually has to know what the measurement is. So if you did something like this and I got this measurement, now let's say you have a ruler at home, you can just measure this string with a ruler, just like you would naturally, and come up with a number. If you don't have a ruler at home and you want it in inches, I can measure this string with my dollar. So I have, there's 6 inches, there's 12 inches, there's 18 inches, there's 24 inches, and a smidge less than another 6, so smidge less than 30 inches. Now we're doing a bunch of, all of this is experimentation, so there are human errors, so maybe I slid my finger a little bit. But the idea that you want to get with your students is that perimeter measures something around the outside, and that measurement changes even though you have the same size pieces, the way that you clump them together. So let's look at like an unusual kind of clumping. So let's say we had this. Do you think that's going to be more or less? You can still find the perimeter of this because it has outside edges. Do you think it'll be more or less than this? I don't know. Let's give it a try. And that's exactly how you want to talk to your students. I don't know. Let's give it a try. So there's one. I'm going to keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. There's that one. And, we don't even get across the top. So this playing with perimeter is a great idea for your student or your child at home. And you can have all kinds of competitions. So let's say you have some business envelopes at home that are junk mail, and you want to use those. Now, I do suggest that the things that you use be the same thing. So in this case, we have business envelopes, but you can do the same thing. So everybody gets business envelopes. Or you can say, hey, you can choose whatever you want, the cards or the envelopes or whatever, and we want to find out where the biggest perimeter is. So again, you can take this and remember, perimeter is linear. So the line, I'm going to just draw this in. I did check this in the erases. So I'm going to draw that in there. I know all of you are kind of freaking out. What's she doing drawing on her TV? This is a dry erase marker. Don't do this at home. So I'm going to go like this, come down. That's the perimeter. The perimeter is that line that goes all the way around the outside. And then, again, we can measure that either with our handmade measuring tools or a ruler, whatever you'd like to do. But the key is we know that when we move these objects around, the perimeter changes, which is really cool. It doesn't make, it's not intuitive. That means it doesn't, like, you don't think, oh, yeah, it would change. You really think, no, if you have 4 envelopes, it's 4 envelopes. But this is one of those things that goes against what our intuition might think happens. And that's the cool stuff about learning math. So you can use any of these kinds of items to do perimeter. I'm going to erase this real quick-a-doodle. All right, so then we go back up to here. Now, let's talk about some things that you can do at home with your students. So we have this that you can do. Another idea that you can use is to have a guess the perimeter. So you might have different windows in your house, and everybody gets one. Everyone picks a window, and whoever's the perimeter around the biggest window wins. You might have rooms, different rooms in your house, and the perimeter would be to measure around the outside. So again, when you're teaching your children at home, the teaching part is really about the creating the task. And then you let them play with it for a little and then come back and talk about it. So if you say, okay, you have 3 children, each one of them picks a different window in the house, and they get to measure. They go off and measure while you are doing something else, and you're kind of there in case they have a question, but they're off doing their math on their own. They're creating, they're playing. That's how we want them to learn math. And honestly, if you're doing this in your home, this is awesome for your students because they can see the real life situation of perimeter. So you can talk about things that are in your home and measuring those things that are in your home, and maybe talk about why would we want to know the measure of our window? Why would we want to know the measure of area rugs or something? That's another one. There are area rugs, and some of them are wide and short, like fat and short. Some of them are long and skinny. So you want to present ideas or situations so that the student has this discovery. So they're going to go measure the short and fat area rug, and then they'll measure the long skinny one. And they'll be able to compare and contrast those. Remember when we talked about questioning? Compare and contrast is up there on questioning. So it's really just like find things around the house for your student to measure the perimeter on. Next week we'll probably talk about area. That's the second part of this particular 4th grade standard. So perimeter, linear, measuring it with the lines. We talked about different ways you can do that. Area we're going to talk about next week, and that's a different kind of idea, but we can do it all at home. So keep going. If you have questions about any of this, or if you have other things that you're struggling with your student at home, or you're just like, why are they doing things this way now? Because It is different. It's different for us, but we know what works with students. We know that students then are able to play with the math a little bit more. So I hope to see you next Monday Math Day. At 2 o'clock, we have a session on general math teaching and teaching strategies. So I'd love to see you at the 2 o'clock hour. Again, we'll be posting these on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So have a wonderful week. Thank you for being here, and hopefully we'll see you next Monday. Have a great day.